Okay, so this is going to be my video series talking about Naruto, which is a shonen manga that I recently just got into, and I would very much like to record my thoughts for each volume. So I'm going to do this for each volume that I read as I go through them, talk about my first impressions, my reactions, what I think of of the story and the characters so far. And I just got through reading volume one. So I should probably preface this by talking about my experience with shonen manga and with Naruto in the past. I did my experience with shonen kind of it's very limited. I did watch some Dragon Ball Z while I was a kid, and I got up to the Cell Saga, so that's really the only experience I've had with shonen. I did like see very little of One Piece, and you even less of Yu-Gi-Oh. But Naruto, I actually had a bit of a I had a bit more experience with it. So, because there was actually this game at the daycare I was staying that introduced me to the characters like Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura and Kakashi. So I'm already I'm not the best familiar with these characters, but like I've encountered them before, is what I'm saying. So, but I'm excited to see how they're implemented in the story, how how they work in context. Let's dive right into it. Volume one. This was a lot shorter than I was expecting. Maybe that again because maybe it's because I don't have very much experience with shonen, but and like although I will say that these pages were a lot thinner than I was anticipating. I like skipped like 5 pages when I first opened the book, and I'm like, oops. So we open up with a little blurb. I like the incorporation of the nine-tailed fox spirit. I've encountered it in various other stories that have, you know, elements of Japanese folklore in them. So I really like that implementation. Um, I will say the introduction to our protagonist, Uzumaki Naruto, it felt strange. I've seen this before, where you open with something very serious, like something very like something that happened in the past that was very impactful, that had a lot of that hurt a lot of people and continues to hurt people or something, and then it transitions straight into jokey, pranky, that kind of that kind of feel, and I get it. It sort of balances out, right? That balances out the serious with the more fun elements. That said, I think it tried to the first, especially the first part, really tried to present Naruto as this boy who is just not loved by the village for like no reason whatsoever. Like we find out eventually that the reason is, by the way, spoiler warning. I'm gonna go into spoilers. If you haven't read the manga or seen the show, well, fair warning. I'm going to go into spoilers here, but it is revealed that Naruto is the human form of the nine-tailed fox spirit, which is a bad thing because that spirit caused a lot of destruction and a lot of deaths in the village, and that it was everyone's duty to keep that secret from him until he eventually learns it from this one guy, Mizuki, who wanted to use him to acquire secret ninja techniques from a scroll in the Great Hokage's library or something like that. Um, but yeah, so that's the actual reason why everyone hates him. Um, I think the problem with that was that I kind of assumed as I was going through before I found out this little tidbit that the reason everyone hates Naruto is because he's such a prankster. He pulls dumb pranks. He pulls very childish pranks. And that kind of killed it for me a little bit. Like I couldn't believe that everyone like really detested Naruto because of his fox spirit, qualities. I thought that everyone just hated Naruto because he's just childish. He does childish things. So it made it a lot harder for me to relate to the protagonist right off the bat, and that's kind of that kind of distracts from the story a little bit. Although I will say I do come to I do understand that Naruto is, of course, like, he's trying to get attention because everyone really does dislike him because he is the reincarnated fox spirit or something. And I understand that's why he does the pranks. That makes sense. That makes sense in my head. I just didn't feel it at first, and that it's something that I still have yet to totally get ingrained within me. So Naruto himself kind of uh, he's taking a while for me to adjust to. And we also met his his teacher, Master Iruka, who I really like. I really like that he sees a lot of himself in Naruto, despite the fact that like he has a he has a slightly similar backstory to Naruto, which allows him to relate to him in some capacity. But that said, the Naruto's the my lack of belief in Naruto's of the village disliking Naruto because he's the fox spirit made it a little harder for me to connect the dots between Iruka and Naruto, which was which was again it's I'm trying not to bash on it too much, because I know it's just it's just starting off. We're just being introduced to these characters, and we have a very limited amount of time to be introduced to these characters. I'm just saying, like, I kind of wish that we saw a little bit more of Naruto being shunned by the village purely because of his nine-tailed fox uh, qualities or whatever, and not because he's a prankster. Uh, it's just my personal opinion, and I feel like that would also strengthen his bond with Iruka. And we also met with oh, I can never remember his name. Konohamaru, I believe, because I remember he is named after the village, which is Konohagakure. So, and as rivals go, it's. Eh. I didn't really feel the whole rival vibe immediately. I just thought, okay, Naruto's being a jerk. Konohamaru is being a bit of a show off, I guess. But like, and then he's trying to learn from Naruto, and he does so at first by being a student, and then by becoming his rival in order to prove that he is worthy of becoming the next great Hokage. Which, as rivalries begin, I'm not entirely feeling it. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see as the story progresses because he only appeared in one part of the volume, and then of course we see Naruto graduate. He gets paired with Sasuke and Sakura. Again, I've encountered these characters before, so I generally kind of know their personalities. Sasuke, unsurprisingly, is very much an edgelord. And honestly, this was the part where I began to warm up to Naruto a little bit. Like, the first bit, I was like, he's a prankster, but he's also got this big, like, backstory, the human form of the nine-tailed fox spirit, which it didn't catch me right away. But when I saw, like, his love for ramen, the way he tries to trick people, the way he ends up, the way his tricks end up failing, or how he goes about these tricks. That was when I started kind of warming up to him. Sasuke, interestingly enough, he goes straight edgelord. He goes straight Shadow the Hedgehog. He's like, "There's someone I need to kill," and I'm like, I do it alone. I'm like, okay, well, all right, we got our edgelord. um, I know eventually Sasuke and Naruto, at least from what I've heard and from what I know of Naruto, they're going to have a bit of they're going to butt heads. They're going to have a bit of a rivalry, which I find interesting because Sasuke very much acts like he's not even within Naruto's league. And I think, honestly, that's a much better way to start off a rivalry. Like, to establish the rival as someone who is already out of your league and who thinks himself already out of your league and, like, sticks up his nose at you. Which my personal favorite way of starting a fictional rivalry. So that's why I feel like Sasuke and Naruto are already going to have that a very interesting way of bouncing off of each other. And then Sakura comes in. Sakura is Sakura brings in an interesting element, honestly, because she is very much infatuated with Sasuke. I don't know why it would. Total edgelord. People, they made fun of people like that in school. Not to say that like there's anything bad with about it, but like she's very much attracted to Sasuke, and Naruto is very much attracted to Sakura, which makes for an interesting. It makes for an interesting way of the three bouncing off of each other. Of Sakura going, "Oh my gosh, Sasuke," and Naruto going, "Oh my gosh, Sakura," and that makes Naruto and Sasuke even more bitter. Well, Naruto especially even more bitter towards Sasuke. Sasuke is just he just doesn't he doesn't really care about Naruto. He has his own agenda. But Sakura, as a character by herself, I'm not entirely. I don't know too much about her other than her infatuation with Sasuke. I would like to see more of Sakura going forward. So I'd like to see how her character develops and how she interacts with Sasuke. I'm assuming after she learns of his edgelordiness, and how Naruto also reacts to that. I'm very excited to see these characters grow, honestly, because they're starting off in pretty pretty pathetic places. I'm sorry to say. We also meet Kakashi, by the way. Kakashi's interesting because he's we want to know more about him at the beginning. They actually ask him like, tell us about yourself. Kakashi's like, oh well, I'm none of your business. Stuff like that. And I'm like, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But yeah, Kakashi puts them through a very grueling training session, which all of them think, oh, I'm going to pass easily, and they don't, and none of them get any lunch. And I like how it ends on that cliffhanger, like none of you will ever become shinobi. It's an interesting way of like keeping the reader engaged and going like, okay, but we know where there are a lot of more volumes left to read, so I know they're going to become ninjas. I know they're going to develop. I know I would very much like to know how this relationship between student and teacher progresses. And I really like the various methods that Kakashi uses to teach his students. Like he spars with them by meanwhile just reading a book. It's like, I want to see how this book ends, so you just do whatever you want to me. And Naruto and Sakura like are very much not capable of doing anything to him, really. Kakashi actually tricks Sakura into thinking Sasuke was hurt or killed, and that's all he needed to like make her faint. And it's like, I'm excited to see how Sakura progresses from here on out, to the point where she no longer has that weakness, or maybe she does have that weakness and it continues to plague her, but she grows stronger through it. I'm not sure. I'm excited. I really want to see how this plays out. Sasuke does prove to be a little more of a challenge for Kakashi, apparently knowing techniques that he's not supposed to know at this age. But Kakashi still proves himself to be the more capable opponent, despite Sasuke's arrogance. And it ends with that cliffhanger, like none of you will ever become shinobi, and I'm very much excited to see how it progresses from here. And, it's a good start. I'll say it's a good start. It has me hooked. I'm enjoying a lot of the characters. Naruto himself took a little bit of time to get acclimated to. But other than that, I'm really excited to see how this turns out. I'm excited to see how the nine-tailed fox spirit, the concept of that, comes into play throughout the course of the adventures. I'm excited to see these three bounce off of each other, and I'm excited to see more of Kakashi and Konohamaru, see how that rivalry turns out, hopefully. And yeah, those are my thoughts.